Hello, Bouquet Canyon area. My name is Isabel Yalda, and today we'll be going over the WaterTalks toolkit. Before we begin, I just wanted to explain the three main topics of conversation we'll be undergoing today. Firstly, I will talk a little bit about the WaterTalks project, its background, what we aim to do, and other such things. Secondly, we'll talk a little bit about the water in our environment, where it comes from, how it comes here, and other such sort of things. And then finally, we'll delve into a little bit of information regarding our tap water. So let's get started with the project background. So WaterTalks is a public program enacted to generate and increase community involvement in water management in California. Participants can learn about the state's water, raise questions and concerns, as well as identify community needs. Some of the water-related concerns we are interested in is things such as clean water, which is essential to our hydration, food production, and sanitation needs. Flood protection, which flood protection strategies are vital to preventing flood catastrophes in our counties, cities, and neighborhoods. Health and well-being, which is related to water, to educate people about their water quality to ensure healthy living. Multi-objective parks, recreation, and habitats. So access to natural resources like creeks, streams, and rivers, as well as open space, which directly contributes to public and environmental health. Green, walkable neighborhoods and safe routes to school, in which water is an essential ingredient for shaded, walkable, and healthy streets, as well as drainage and vector concerns, including the management of drainage water, which is important to reduce water-related vector-borne diseases. The funding for WaterTalks comes from two main areas. Firstly is Proposition 1, also known as the Water Quality, Supply, and Infrastructure Improvement Act, enacted in the year 2014. The things that can be funded with the $7.545 billion allocated for California are all such water-related projects. Secondly is Measure W, also known as the Safe Clean Water Parcel Tax, enacted in the year 2018, which funds stormwater capture projects. The funding available is approximately $300 million per year in LA alone. And if you're interested in looking at additional funding sources, the website is at the bottom, www.fundingresource.org. So let's just discuss the project overview just a little bit. So the Proposition 1 funding areas are allocated as seen in the map to the left. And as you can see, our Los Angeles County area, which is magnified over here, is allocated about $98 million of the about $7 billion that was given. If you look at the map, you can also see the different highlighted areas of the dock delegation type regions. So this is essentially where we're going to be putting most of our focus on. And if you want some more information, the links are at the bottom of the screen. So within our Los Angeles County region are different IRWM regions. IRWM stands for Integrated Regional Water Management Regions. This is part of the Integrated Regional Water Management Planning Act. The IRWM provides a framework for collaboratively identifying and implementing regional water solutions. The three Southern California planning areas are the Greater Los Angeles County, the Upper Santa Clara River, which is where we are located and what we are concerned with, as well as the Watersheds Coalition of Ventura County. The IRWM meetings for the Greater Los Angeles County area, as well as its subregions, are open to the public. Again, the link is to the bottom left if you are interested in that. What sectors focus on water? So in terms of water-related jobs, these can be found essentially anywhere. Public agencies, nonprofit organizations, private companies, other such type things. So if we look at specific areas of focus, water service providers deal with tap water as well as wastewater, whereas those dealing in the natural resources are concerned with conservation, restoration, and as well as the Youth Conservation Corps. Those focused on hydrology and public works are interested primarily in flood control and stormwater. So the primary types of jobs that focus on water, as you can see, there's a gigantic list going on. A couple of them is wastewater treatment operator, system/plant operator, stormwater management, certified erosion, sediment, and stormwater inspector, hydroelectric plant technician, chemist, research analyst, accountant, attorney, secretary, IT technician, engineer, surveyor, geologist, dispatcher, heavy equipment mechanic, graphic designer, photographer, office assistant, and many, many more. So as you can see, essentially any job you can think of, well, not any job, but the majority of jobs can be involved in water to some extent. Even things such as graphic designer, for example, if you're interested in being a graphic designer for certain water reclamation companies or just water bottling companies, other such sort of things. And again, if you would like more information, the link is at the bottom of the screen. So let's delve into a little bit about information about water in our environment. So what is a watershed? A watershed is an area in which water gathers, and the watershed that we are in, the community that we are located in, is the Upper Santa Clara River watershed, which is where we should be concerned with. As you can see, the red area outlined in the map is the Upper IRWM region, which we discussed a couple of slides ago. And within this region, the little black area within the bigger red outline is the Upper Santa Clara River area of Santa Clarita. So the black outline is Santa Clarita, the red outline is the Upper Santa Clara River watershed. Santa Clarita is within that area. In terms of surface water and groundwater, all surface water, rainwater, and groundwater systems are integrally connected. Rain falls to the earth and collects on the surface or underground. Surface water flows into rivers, streams, and reservoirs. And finally, groundwater is precipitation that seeps into the earth's soils and rock formations and is stored in aquifers. Water can be pumped from underground reservoirs known as aquifers using wells. So an aquifer is essentially a place underground where water gathers and is pumped from in order to supply water that we use for showering, for our toilets, for drinking, all sorts of things. So in this map, you can kind of see how the rain falls down, gathers in areas such as Castaic Lake, goes to water treatment plants, tanks, and then to customers after it has been sanitized and cleaned and made safe for usage. Likewise, our local streams, rivers, and beaches, and even groundwater aquifers are impacted by pollutants. These pollutants include trash and litter, pesticides and herbicides, as well as brake pads from cars, urban runoff, other such sort of things. Stormwater pollution can be prevented by correctly disposing chemical and material waste or by using green infrastructure practices that can treat and clean our waters. So in this infographic, it shows just a little bit of an example. So for instance, in wildfires, things such as ash and soot and all sort of things can run into our water. Urban runoff, such as pesticides and herbicides used to maintain urban gardens, gasoline from cars, brake pads, trash, all of that eventually goes and gathers within our local streams, rivers, beaches, and even groundwater aquifers, which is why one of the ways that contaminants can get into the water that we use. Where does our groundwater come from? In the north and east area of our region, groundwater is extracted from the southwestern portion of the extensive Antelope Valley Basin and the smaller Acton Groundwater Basin. In the southern part of our area, groundwater is extracted from the Santa Clara River Valley East Groundwater Basin's alluvial aquifer. So if you look at this map, once again, the red outline represents our Upper Santa Clara River watershed type region. And the majority of our waters, you can see the light blue in the center, is the Santa Clara River Valley Groundwater Basin. Now, this map is a little bit deceiving. It does not mean that this is a giant lake or a river, as we don't have a giant lake or a river that encompasses nearly our entire city. It is a groundwater aquifer system where the majority of the water used in the Santa Clarita Valley, including the Bouquet Canyon area, is sourced from. This is where the majority of our water is sourced from, and to a smaller extent, you can see towards the rightmost part of the red outline, the Acton Valley and the Antelope Valley portions is another place where water is sourced. Flooding is another concern for Santa Clarita, believe it or not. So one of the main questions and concerns we have is, are we at risk of flooding? Now, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, has defined flood zones for us. So a 100-year flood is meaning a 1% annual chance, and then a 500-year flood chance is a 0.2% annual chance. What this means, essentially, is that if you live in an area that is known as a 100-year flood, for every year in 100 years, every year has a 1% annual chance of flooding. This does not mean that a flood only happens once every 100 years. It means that every 100 years there is a 1% chance of this area flooding. So if we look at this map given to us, all of these blue lines are indicative of various rivers that exist in the area, whether they are underground rivers or above ground rivers. Going through the Santa Clarita region is the Santa Clara River, and you can see delegated by the light blue shading is that most of the areas that surround these rivers are at a flood risk. This is where localized flooding can occur, and we do have that 1% annual chance of a flood, or that 0.2% annual chance of a flood occurring. So it is a risk that we must be aware of and prepare for. In terms of access to parks and local waterways, water bodies and the habitats and open space they support contribute to the quality of life in our community. Certain contaminants can pose a health risk to those that recreate and eat fish from streams and rivers. So again, if we look at this map, you can see the areas with green are primarily parks with water access, and the more lighter green color is parks and open space areas. So we generally have a good amount of open space green areas and parks within Santa Clarita, and these tend to run along the lines of where various rivers are. So we need to ensure that the contaminants from those that recreate from the streams and rivers and in these open park areas, that we do understand that they pose a health risk to our local water area. This is a map that displays the existing land use, and land use affects how water moves. Developed land often consists of hardened and impervious surfaces such as concrete and asphalt. Water that flows over impervious surfaces enter the storm drain system and is directed into rivers and oceans. So if you think about it, when you see that it's raining and you see the water rushing into those storm drains, that is essentially what we are talking about here. The asphalt in many neighborhoods, as well as throughout the streets, takes this water that falls from the sky or other such water that accumulates and directs it to these storm drains that then drains into rivers and oceans. Untreated water is called urban runoff and can carry automotive fluids, trash, pesticides, and other pollutants. Too much water can result in flooding and erosion. So this is one of the concerns we have with developed land, is that, for example, when it rains and the water catches on these urban runoff type things, such as automotive fluids, trash, pesticides, and other pollutants, it goes into the river and ocean systems, which poses a big threat to the natural ecosystem as well as health. So if we look at this map, in different colors on the map essentially display the different types of land use. So as we can see, the majority of the majority of the Santa Clarita region is in gray, which is developed land, whether that be low intensity, medium intensity, or high intensity. High intensity essentially means an area that is densely packed with a lot of buildings. And as we can see, the vast majority of Santa Clarita is medium to low, with certain areas of high intensity developed land. If we look, the green areas is developed open space, meaning parks, man-made parks, as well as other such things. And then the dark green is natural forests, in which there are not much within the existing boundaries of the community. And then the blue is wetlands. So as we can see, the vast majority of the Santa Clarita region consists of developed land, which is where the concern of urban runoff comes from. In terms of capturing and storing water, as you can see, these are 4 different images that show ways in which we can capture water rather than contributing to the problem of urban runoff. For example, such as in the bottom right corner, that is a house with a natural front yard garden, which includes a lot of native and endemic species. Other such things that you can see in the top 2 pictures are sidewalk greenery, which collect water within the dirt rather than allowing it to run off into the drainage systems, and other such sort of things. That's how we can catch and store water. Lastly, let's delve into a little bit regarding our tap water. So where does our tap water come from? In the northern regions of the USCR-IRWM area, Lake Hughes and Elizabeth Lake residents receive groundwater from the Antelope Valley Basin and imported water. In the eastern regions of the USCR-IRWM area, Acton and Agua Dulce regions residents receive groundwater from the Acton Groundwater Basin, as well as alluvial wells near the Santa Clara River and imported water. In the southern region of the USCR-IRWM area, most residents receive groundwater from the Santa Clara River Valley East Groundwater Basin and imported area. This comprises the largest populated area and drinking water use, and this is where the Bouquet Canyon region is. So as you can see, when we talk about imported water, our concern is, well, where does this come from? From the infographic to the right, you can see that 41% of our imported water comes from the California State Water Project, 22% is from water recycling, and then 37% is groundwater. So the imported water comprises the 41% of the water, which we get from areas such as Redding, and comes all the way down to our IRWM area. Groundwater is the things that we talked about, such as the Santa Clara River aquifers and other such groundwater sources. And then water recycling, of course, is another key facet of that. So when we talk about water consumption, we're talking about the specific consumption made by households or individuals within households. So how much does one person drink? Well, the recommended water consumption is about 8 cups of water per day, which is equivalent to half a gallon per day. Half a gallon of water drank by each individual person adds up to 182.5 gallons of water drank per year. Now, the cost of drinking water depends on the source, as you can see from this graph at the bottom right. If an individual solely drinks their water from bottled water sources, which has an average cost per gallon of $7.69, they are spending about $1,400 per year. If they are consuming the majority of their water from water jugs, which the average cost per gallon is $2 to $5, they are spending anywhere from between $364 to $910 per year. Water jug refills is about $67.34 per year, and then tap water is 36 cents to $1.50 per year. This graph does a very good job of showing the large discrepancy between those who consume solely tap water and those who consume solely bottled water. This is the annual cost per person, mind you. So, for example, if you were to have a family of 4 who all drank and consumed solely bottled water, that would be upwards of $5,000, $6,000 per year solely spent on water. The average cost per gallon, as it says, is 0.002 cents. That is a fraction of a cent is the cost per gallon. Now, remember the fact that the average water consumption is about half a gallon per day, so you're looking about 0.004 cents per person per day, which for a family of 4, that would be about, if I can do the math correctly, 1.6 cents per day, which compared to $7.69 per person per day, which for a family of 4 would be about $30 per day, it shows the big discrepancy in the cost of water depending on the source, where it is sourced from. Similarly, secondarily, not just water that is drank, but if you look at the residential water uses for different things in the household, you can see how much water we use every single day. For example, the average shower uses 17 gallons of water per day per person. The average clothes washing machine, is 14.45 gallons of water used. The average faucet usage, whether that be for brushing teeth, washing face, doing the dishes, is about 16.15 gallons of water per person per day. The average toilet water usage per person per day is 20.4 gallons, and then other such things like water leakages in the house that are unknown is about 10.2 gallons per person per day, and then other random things such as maybe using the hose in the backyard, about 6.8 gallons per person per day, which adds up to 85 gallons per person per day, which then again adds up to about 31,025 gallons of water used per year per person. So again, if you multiply that by a family of 4, you're looking at about 124,100 gallons of water per household per year used, and that is solely just water consumption with the regular shower, faucet, clothes, water, other such type things. And the sources are at the bottom if you want to check out some more. Now, given all this information about the water we use and the information I had discussed about the price discrepancy between tap water and bottled water usage, the concern about tap water quality, it becomes a big issue. You're wondering, how clean is my drinking water? Now, let's discuss. How can contaminants get into my tap water? This could be naturally occurring chemicals and minerals, as well as agriculture and land use practices, which include pesticides, herbicides, other such sort of things. Industry, like factories or buildings, as well as urban runoff, which we discussed is either pollutants from cars, pesticides, litter, garbage, other sorts of things. Then you wonder, well, how often is my water tested and reported? Water agencies conduct quarterly testing, and the annual reporting is required by the State Water Resources Control Board Division of Drinking Water, or the DDW. So the water agencies conduct quarterly testing, meaning about every 3 months on the water, their tap water. And then what is the water tested for? If contaminant levels are greater than the established safe thresholds, agencies must notify all customers. Now, what is an exceedance? What is greater than the established safe thresholds? And then what happens when there is an exceedance? An exceedance occurs when a concentration of contaminant is above the established safe threshold and could potentially cause a threat to human health. If this occurs, agencies are responsible for sending an unsafe water notice to all customers, as well as instructions on how to proceed when using tap water. Well, what about people who get their drinking water from private wells? Well, the owners of private wells are not required to test their drinking water for any contaminants. If you receive your drinking water from a private well, it is strongly recommended that you contact your local public health agency for guidance on testing your drinking water supply. And again, if you want to learn more about the water quality in your community, please visit the link at the bottom right, yourscvwater.com/water-quality. So we discussed about the water service providers who test for these exceedances, but what are the water service providers in our community? These fall under the Santa Clarita Valley Water Agency, also known as SCV Water. They have 3 main divisions: the Santa Clarita Division, Valencia Water Division, as well as the Newhall Water Division. And then this graph shows a delegation of the different regions. So the vast majority in the light green is governed by the Santa Clarita Division of SCV Water. The orange is governed by the SCV Water Valencia Division. And then the Newhall Division is purple, which is in the bottom part of Santa Clarita, the right part, as well as the upper left part. So the Bouquet Canyon Road area, as you can see, is mostly encompassed by the Santa Clarita Division of SCV Water. So how much does my water cost? Well, if you look at the water service providers, they have different sources from which their water comes from. The Santa Clarita Division comes from Castaic Lake, as well as the water source comes from Castaic Lake, as well as SWP and wells, and that is primarily consistent for all 3 of the divisions. The Santa Clarita Division has the most total households served by the provider, whereas the Newhall Division has the least total households served by the provider. Secondly, the average cost per month per household is about $65 for those served by the Santa Clarita Division, $52 for those served by the Valencia Division, and then $72 for those served by the Newhall Division. And then if you look at the median house income for customers within the Santa Clarita Division is about $99,000. Valencia Division is about $104,000, and then Newhall Division is about $81,000. And then the data based on the average residential water use in California in 2016 is about 85 gallons per person per day, which we had discussed a couple of slides previously. And again, if you want additional information about how this data was collected, please visit yourscvwater.com. If you have any questions about anything that was either discussed today, any questions about your water service provider, just any questions at all, you can contact your local service provider at the information provided in this right here. So the main contact information for Santa Clarita Valley Water Agency, or SCV Water, is up top. You can find their telephone number at 661-297-1600. If you want to contact specifically the Santa Clarita Division, their phone number and as well as email and address is 661-297-1600 as well. And then if you want to contact the Newhall Division or the Valencia Division, their phone numbers as well as emails can be found on this slide. And again, if you want any additional resources or information about either your service provider or water in general, visit yourscvwater.com. Now, if you want to get involved, please visit our website, www.watertalks.csusb.edu. is one great way where you can find a lot of information and resources about what we are and what we aim to do. You can also attend local IRWM committee meetings and then sign up for future updates. So the next steps from this water talk to project implementation is the following. So we begun with phase 1, which is outreach, where we aim to educate and inform the residents in the areas that we are targeting. Secondly, we do a needs assessment, which assesses the needs and community priorities of the community, such as your community. See what you need, the priorities of the community, the wants of the community, and other such sort of things. Then the outcomes inform the RFP for phase 3 technical assistance, which is where technical assistance to develop selected project proposals are given. Now the Proposition 1, which we talked about before, about $7 billion, the grant that we got, the $98 million for our area, is where the project proposals and selection, the money comes from, which are then implemented into the funded projects, though not all projects will be funded. This is where the whole sort of thing is coming from. And then if you want to stay involved, here's some links. If you want to visit the IRWM website to find where your local meetings are happening or to get other information, you can find it up here at dpw.lacounty.gov/wmd/scr. If you would like to join the IRWM mailing list, please visit dpw.lacounty.gov/wmd/scr/contact.aspx. And again, if you would like to explore the WaterTalks website, which has a lot of educational information, sources, and other such fun things, please visit watertalks.csusb.edu. And then if you would like to participate in our outreach survey, which you can visit watertalks.csusb.edu, we would like to gather community input to inform the use of the Proposition 1 technical assistant funding, as well as to inform ongoing and future water-related project funding decisions. So if you can visit our website at watertalks.csusb.edu and complete the survey by March 31st, 2021, you do have a chance to win $100. There are new winners every month, and it is a great survey to both give us information and to enrich the local community, and it's a great opportunity, so please visit that website if you are interested. And thank you for listening. Again, my name was Isabel Yalda, and I hope that this presentation was informative. And again, if you have any questions at all, please visit watertalks.csusb.edu. And thank you for listening.